The special counsel's office responds to accusations that it unlawfully obtained thousands of private emails sent by the Trump transition team.
My people are very upset about it. I can't imagine there's anything on them, frankly, because, as we said, there's no collusion. No, I'm not. No.
GOP lawmakers are confident they'll pass tax reform this week.
It's a historic moment, and we're excited to be here.
President Trump said McCain was returning home to Arizona as he battles side effects of brain cancer treatment, but that he'll come back to D.C. if they need him.
He's going through a very tough time. There's no question about it. But he will come back if we need his vote.
Electricity restored just before midnight after a massive power outage brought Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta to a complete standstill. Officials blaming a fire. They say it broke out in an underground electrical facility.
The daily average for the week, the last 7 days, is about 1,300.
1,300?
Across
1,300 people across the southwest border.
Be a 1930s crooner, Michael Bublé. Am I right?
Everyone loves him.
He's
It's a
Bing
throwback.
Crosby who could actually sing.
Kind of patterned after Sinatra. Look at this. It's green and red.
If our set doesn't remind you, you have 1 week to finish your Christmas shopping. I don't know what is.
You could put a news alert.
I think people,
1 week
that's called a calendar.
Well, listen, my bet is, we were talking before the show with some of my friends downstairs.
Right.
They don't like you.
I know.
You're not
I
their
heard.
friend.
I tried to get a talk.
We were doing Christmas cards all weekend long, wrapping presents. My family's in South Carolina, so I have to ship all my gifts. So that's what I was doing
By the way,
Saturday
she said
night.
ship.
When you put the kids to bed, then you have time by yourself and the house is quiet, right? I stayed up till 5 a.m. on Saturday night doing all that stuff, and I was so happy. I loved every second
Here's
of
the
it.
good news, Ainsley. You know what I had?
What'd you do?
We packed up all ours, too. I had my daughter Sally do it.
Did you really?
There you go.
See,
I watched.
See, Hayden's too young.
I know.
I have that to look forward to.
She's also my designated driver when needed.
All right,
Anyway,
speaking of holiday travel,
in addition to that,
we
got 1 week before Christmas, and everybody's going home and going places. You're going places. Listen to this. We got a Fox News alert. It's all about travel, and power is finally back on at the world's busiest airport after thousands of flights were canceled.
Todd Pyro joins us now with the latest on what is happening at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Todd?
This is bad, guys. The outage leaving passengers stranded in dark terminals, forcing multiple airlines to cancel thousands of outgoing and incoming flights. Nearly 100 planes sitting on the tarmac with people waiting on board for hours.
The lights flickered once. It was really scary, but we were like, hopefully nothing happens. And then they flickered again, and they didn't come back.
I literally spent a whole 7 hours on an airplane without food or water.
We have to go through the tunnels that are pitch black. It's scary.
It started around 1 yesterday afternoon. Atlanta's mayor saying an electrical fire caused the outage. The lights did not come back on until around midnight. That's more than 11 hours later. Get this, the airport's Chick-fil-A, typically closed on Sunday for religious reasons, came to the rescue, handing out 2,000 meals to stranded passengers. How awesome is that? Georgia Power sending a statement saying an electrical fire may have caused the outage, although it's still under investigation. Thousands of people, though, remain stranded at the airport. Still unclear when they'll be able to catch their flights. And like Steve said at the top, not a good thing to have happen 1 week before Christmas.
Right.
Back to you.
And that's where you find you sleep on the floor, you grab your carry-on baggage, and you make a bed.
You're so frustrated.
Right.
No kidding. And keep in mind, thank you very much, Todd, because they couldn't prepare any food. Apparently, when the lights finally went on, they took in 5,000 meals because people were starving. People were stuck on that train. You know, it's so big. That airport is so big. You got to take the train. People were stuck there. They had to be lifted off by the fire department. And people were actually locked in the doors. You know, those doors that go around, electric. Couldn't get out.
Stuck in there. I called Delta last night to work on some flights for Christmas, and they said, if you are not stranded, we're trying to deal with Atlanta. If you're not stranded, call back tomorrow. That's what the automated search. So I hung up. I let the people deal with that. That is so frustrating. Has that ever happened to y'all?
Not like that. Meanwhile, 4 minutes after the top of the hour, what a week it's going to be on Capitol Hill. Think about it. Historic tax cuts and tax reform, that's one thing. The other thing we're looking at, too, is what's happening with the investigation into this Russian probe on the Mueller probe, and who's involved with what and what are they up to. Today, we're going to see about Bruce Ohr and his wife and what their relationship is with Fusion GPS. And then Tuesday, it's Andy McCabe, the former acting, now deputy FBI director, and his role in the investigation or lack thereof of President Trump.
All right, today the senators, they want to know this. They want to know about his wife. His wife was working for Fusion GPS. Her name is Nellie Ohr. He was also having private undisclosed meetings with Fusion GPS while his wife was working there, and he's working for the DOJ investigating the president. He even sat down during the campaign with Christopher Steele and had a conversation with him.
Sure, and the curious thing about Bruce Ohr, who we're talking about, whose wife Nellie worked for Fusion GPS, is there are a number of Republican members of Congress who feel that there's Mr. Ohr right there. The other guy, the guy who had the girlfriend, Peter Strzok, they feel that he used the dossier to get a FISA warrant to spy on Carter Page, who was one of the assistants during the Trump transition. So they're going to be asking him all those questions about that. And then with Andrew McCabe, keep in mind, he is still so high-ranking at the FBI, he was on the short list to be the new director. So there he is right there. He's also the guy whose wife ran for state senate down in the Commonwealth of Virginia, wound up with $600,000 or $700,000 from Clinton-aligned supporters and stuff like that. There are a lot of questions he's got, just like Bruce Ohr, but we're not going to hear the answers on camera because they're going to both be behind closed doors.
But I hope we do get an indication, because last week was the non-answer week. When asked, do you know the answer? Was the Fusion GPS dossier used to unmask or use as evidence for the FISA court in order to unmask? I know the answer, but I'm not telling you.
Because of the IG.
Rod Rosenstein. But legislatively, there's nothing stopping him from answering that question. The IG is put there for Congress. Congress is asking you a question. You could answer the question.
That's what is so frustrating, Brian. People at home, they're watching. They're saying, oh, it's another hearing, another hearing. They're going to say, I plead the fifth, or they're going to say, I'm not allowed to answer that, or they're going to say, I know the answer, I can't answer it. It's just like we're running around in circles.
Well, if they can't answer those questions, they should not be at the FBI. I mean, think about it. If they ask Bruce Ohr a question about what he did regarding the dossier meeting with Chris Steele, and he doesn't answer, it's like, well, what do you have to hide? Maybe you shouldn't just still be at the FBI.
People are wondering why he is still there, why he was just demoted.
Well, those text messages, they refer to Andy and a plan, a possible
Peter Strzok
plan.
And Lisa Page.
August 15th, 2016, and they talk about what happens, essentially, to paraphrase, if Trump wins. They go, well, we have an insurance policy, like you have an insurance policy if you die before you're 40, and they refer to Andy, and I believe it's him. So let's see if he has an answer to that question, or he could say, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. People want to know, the House wants to know, does he have a connection with this guy, the Strzok guy, and did he know that that Ohr was inclusion, or did know these, or had these meetings with Fusion GPS? What did he know? What did Andrew McCabe know?
Will we ever know?
Probably not.
Also yesterday, Eric Holder, former Attorney General of the United States, remember he's the only AG who was ever held in contempt of Congress, he tweeted this out. Absolute red line. The firing of Bob Mueller or crippling the special counsel's office, if removed or meaningfully tampered with, there must be mass, popular, peaceful support of both. The American people must be seen and heard. They will ultimately be determinative. And then Walt Schaub, former Obama ethics czar, said this.
He said, this weekend I'm stocking up on portable phone chargers, warm clothes, and gear needed for when we take the streets. I'm concerned the assault on the rule of law is coming over the holidays when we're distracted. It'll be a defining moment for the Republic.
So you know what this is based on? A non-story. This woman, Congresswoman Spire, says that they got word that before Christmas, the president's going to make a major speech, fire Robert Mueller, and declare all the investigations over. It never happened. It's never been verified. Now, nothing coming from the White House, not even rumor, not even word on the street. This is a congresswoman who says this. And then every Sunday show, except for Chris Wallace's, leads with, what happens if they fire Robert Mueller? Well, it turns out if they pick up the phone and call the White House, it has not even been discussed. They never brought it up. It's a non-story started by a woman who's not tapped into the White House, and then everyone feeds on it as if they're all reading from the same script.
President says it's more fake news. I'm not firing Robert Mueller. Listen.
Sad to see that. So my people were very upset about it. I can't imagine there's anything on him, frankly, because, as we said, there's no collusion. There's no collusion whatsoever. But A lot of lawyers thought that was pretty sad.
Do you feel the integrity of the
No, I'm not.
Meanwhile, you've got a bunch of people who had been working on the president's transition team. They're upset that they say Robert Mueller illegally got a bunch of email. He says he followed the law. Nonetheless, the sooner they get the investigation over, the better for the White House. People inside the White House feel he's not going to fire Robert Mueller.
And just so you know, when they had the transition, they were given the computers and everything during the transition. They said, thank you very much. Now, all of a sudden, to this point, if Robert Mueller needed somebody's email, he would say, I need somebody's email, and they would give it to him. So now, all of a sudden, they go to the GSA, and they say, hey, do me a favor, give me everybody's. And the GSA does without checking with the Trump administration. They said, wait a second, you just can't grab all the transitions. So if Ivanka emailed and said, don't forget to pick up such and such milk before soccer practice, that's all in Robert Mueller's?
But the problem is, it's a government database. They're all government emails. So the government's entitled to it, and he's got an investigation, and the GSA said, okay.
Well, the Trump people said, no, that's not what the assurances. No, they don't like it, but they even got assurances that wasn't the case.
All right. Let us know what you think about that. We were talking about it this weekend with some friends. The Strzok guy, not very smart. If he's going to have an affair, he's doing that on government emails.
He's an FBI guy.
He should know. Right. All right. More headlines this morning. A fallen hero is remembered as loved ones line the streets to say goodbye. San Diego firefighter Corey Iverson. He died battling that massive Thomas wildfire. The procession of first responders covering nearly 200 miles. He leaves behind a 2-year-old daughter. You see her there, and a pregnant wife. There is a GoFundMe page. It's been started for his family. Look at that. They've already raised more than $400,000. That's wonderful. Well, we now know a U.S. soldier killed in an ambush by ISIS-affiliated fighters in Niger fought until the very end. 2 senior defense officials tell Fox News Sergeant LaDavid Johnson was not executed or captured during the October attack, as previously reports suggested. The military investigation found the 25-year-old was shot nearly 18 times. 3 other American soldiers, including 2 Green Berets, died also in that attack. Vladimir Putin praising President Trump for providing the intel that prevented a terror attack in St. Petersburg. The Russian president calling our commander-in-chief after the CIA tipped Russian officials off. The White House says President Trump was pleased to help, adding, quote, both leaders agreed that this serves as an example of the positive things that can occur when our countries work together. It is the second time the 2 leaders have spoken by phone since Thursday. And those are your headlines.
Well, all right. Nice job, Ainsley. 13 minutes after the hour. Jane Fonda spending thousands to make sure Republican Congressman Darrell Issa is out of a job. His response?
When Hanoi Jane puts $100,000 in to defeat you, I have so little respect for her after she betrayed our country.
Most of America feels the same way, and he wasn't done. We'll give you more.
And if you can't keep track of what we were just talking about in the Russia probe, stick around. Former CIA guy right there, Buck Sexton, here to break it down. Good morning, Buck. You're next on Fox and Friends. All right, welcome back. With all this talk of investigations, it's hard to keep track of who's who, so we're going to break down all the key players you need to know in the FBI and the DOJ's presidential Russia probe as officials start testifying later today. Here to investigate the investigators, former CIA officer Buck Sexton. Buck, good morning to you.
Good to see you.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. You got folks at the FBI and the DOJ, right?
Absolutely. And so what's happening right now is people are beginning to see that there's a nexus of these different figures that were involved in key nodes of both the Hillary Clinton email investigation and then also the Russia collusion probe. And by the way, a lot of Democrat donors, Democrat-tied individuals here.
Andrew McCabe, let's start with him. In fact, his wife ran for Congress in Virginia, state Congress, as a Democrat.
That's right. Close relationship with Terry McAuliffe, whom we all know from his political career. And then you also have him appearing in the texts that have been released from Strzok. And it's believed, now we haven't confirmed this yet, which is why his testimony will be so interesting, that he's the Andy referred to by a couple of other FBI folks as the office that they were discussing the insurance policy in, the anti-Trump insurance policy, which no one knows what that means yet, but people have some ideas.
Then here's Peter Strzok. He's the one who had the girlfriend Lisa Page, and this is a guy who had those text messages talking about Andy's office.
Right, and he said that President Trump is loathsome, and there's been a lot of distraction tactics over this one, because what you see is that he's allowed to say bad things about the president. No one denies that.
Yeah.
Should he say it on government property? No, that's a dumb thing to do. I used to work for the government. I would never have done that. That's not smart. However, when he talks about the anti-Trump insurance policy and involving other people in the FBI, given that he was involved in Hillary's emails, that he was involved in the Russia probe, that's concerning stuff.
So the insurance policy could have been the dossier, which some people feel that Peter Strzok might have used before a FISA court to let them start spying on the Trump campaign. Okay, so Nellie Ohr is married to Bruce Ohr. He was a high-ranking official at the DOJ until he was demoted.
Right. And at what point do we start to see here that the coincidence is just too great? Here you have a senior DOJ person.
And this is Andrew Weissman right here.
Andrew Weissman here, senior DOJ person who is praising Sally Yates. So this is really just politicization that we're concerned about at this point. He doesn't have as direct a tie to Fusion GPS, but you have Bruce Ohr over here, and Ohr is a guy who met with the someone from Fusion GPS on more than one occasion, I believe, and met with Christopher Steele, who put together the dossier. So why would someone from DOJ be holding those meetings? And by the way, his wife worked for them. The coincidences are piling up way too high.
There are a lot of them. So if these FBI and DOJ people go in front of Congress and they say, I can't answer that, that looks bad, right?
It looks bad. You're going to see...
I got a feeling they got an answer for everything, though.
I mean, they have a lot of information that people want. The question is, where do they draw the line between what is classified that they are going to say they can't share in a certain forum versus what is pleading the Fifth? We'll have to see.
We will indeed. All right, Buck, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, meanwhile, there are hundreds of arrests at the southern border every day. Brian actually went down there last week to talk firsthand with the agents keeping us safe. He's going to tell us what he found out coming up next. And it's the airport dance you don't want to miss. The two little girls now going viral.
We have some quick headlines for you. 2 ISIS terrorists caught on camera storming a packed Christian church in Pakistan with rifles and explosive vests. 9 people were killed, more than 50 injured when one detonated inside. A security guard shooting one of the gunmen before he could get inside where about 400 people were worshiping. And the worldwide effort to nullify President Trump's historic Jerusalem decision is intensifying today. The United Nations Security Council is expected to vote on a measure from Egypt that would void the declaration of an ancient city as Israel's capital. But the United States is expected to veto that. If it does happen, the proposal might go to the UN General Assembly.
Also, last week we showed you Brian's exclusive interview with the Department of Homeland Security brand new chief, Kirstjen Nielsen.
But why did she choose to go to that area of the border within days of her confirmation, we asked Brian.
All right. So and now, Brian McKinley reporting for Judy. I asked the Border Patrol agents about what is like their day in and day out from when it started, when President Trump started, to where we are today. Here's what they had to say.
Yeah, 400 a day here across the southwest border. The daily average for the week, the last 7 days, is about 1,300.
Spent her first week meeting with the Customs and Border Patrol agents in the Rio Grande Valley sector.
We've heard from the frontline operators that this is where we need the wall. So I wanted to come and see for myself in terms of prioritization why it was important to build here.
This is the most active sector in the Border Patrol right now amongst the 9 across the southwest border. More apprehensions and arrests are done here, more seizures are done here, and the problem with unaccompanied children and family units is more acute here than it is anywhere else on the border.
Part of the issue, the border wall in this area is not a straight wall. There are gaps in it. Sometimes it's due to the terrain or natural barriers, and sometimes it's other factors.
This is the Santa Ana Wildlife Refuge. We cannot build roads. It has limitations to law enforcement, but it does not have limitations to the criminal organizations.
Frustrating, right?
Very frustrating.
We tend to have the discussion about the wall with respect to illegal immigration problem, but you can't forget it's criminals, it's traffickers, it's smugglers, it's special interest aliens, potentially terrorists. It's all the same pathways.
A half mile through this bollard fencing is Mexico, and currently over 400 people are trying to get through any given day, some successfully. How does that number come down again? Congress has to act.
They watch what's happening in Congress, they watch what's happening as part of our national conversation. They're watching everything we do and learning from it, finding out how to exploit it.
The numbers don't lie.
Chief, let's take a look at this. In January 25th, the new administration takes over. The rhetoric is strong, and what is the result in terms of crossings?
So this is the number of individual family units and unaccompanied children that are arrested here in the Rio Grande Valley during those time frames.
Look at the drop, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's 45-year low in May.
And then what happens?
So the calculation starts to change. Since May, these loopholes that exist in current law are now being re-exploited.
And the numbers go up again.
So the consequences matter, and that's a demonstration of it.
And it's not just facts and figures, it's what the actual border agents are experiencing as well.
You talk about trends. What did you see in January of this year, and what are you seeing now?
Trends, they were starting in January, things kind of calmed down, but they've kind of re-escalated again, and we've started seeing an increase of more people coming in and just continuing to enter.
We are seeing an upscale in, like I said, the narcotics, the hard narcotics. That's gone up a lot.
We know how the White House wants to fix that.
We are building a wall on the southern border, which is absolutely necessary.
And what did the president tell you when you got the job?
Build a wall. Protect our country.
But what do the men and women of CPB think?
If someone could build a barrier, would that help?
I mean, somebody could build a barrier, easier said than done, but of course it'd help out.
A wall works where we use it. We put fences and walls around things that we want to protect in this country. Our homes, our communities, parks, individual factories. We put fences around them because they work.
And for those who work the border, this is not just a job, it's a mission.
Definitely, we know for the majority of the folks here, they want to be safe. The more impact that we can have on illegal immigration, the better for them because they feel safe.
The laws are the laws, so we're not discriminating or being prejudiced towards any particular race or ethnicity. We're just doing our job.
That's really interesting. So, Brian, right after he was inaugurated, the number of people who did the illegal crossings went way down. Now it's coming back. Is that because the wall hasn't been built yet?
It is. And the fact is, right now, when you get captured, they're still putting you into the system. Mm-hmm. They say, okay, 3 weeks, here's your ticket, come back. They don't come back.
Ever.
So what happens is, it's almost as if all these gangs and these criminals and these people, sometimes families want to get caught. It's almost as if they have C-SPAN. In Mexico, in Central America. They know exactly what the rhetoric is. And when it's rhetoric, they'll look out because they don't want to get caught. But when you tell people there's going to be no ramifications if you're caught here, let alone if you can get here, then they don't worry about it. They're going to come in, they're going to be all the illegals. So you have to get more courts, you have to have bigger detainment centers, and you got to let them know you're going right back immediately. And most of them are not Mexicans. It goes central and south. Mm-hmm. Mexico is not the issue. They go through Mexico, but it's not Mexicans.
So what surprised you the most?
The biggest surprise is the way that they don't want to get caught. If you tell them, if you turn off the magnet, people won't take the risk.
The jobs.
They don't take the jobs. And if they do get caught, if they know they're going back, they're not going to be able to execute. They're not going to be able to say, I'm going to get this family over here safely. I'm not going to be able to get these drugs over here safely. Also, fentanyl. If you want to stop fentanyl, it's a synthetic drug that's killing our country and destroying our youth. You got to stop it at the border. That's real. If you think this is President Trump or President Obama, it's not. You got to go talk to the border agents. They are desperate for some backup. They feel the support, but they haven't seen it in legislation. That's why it's got to happen this week. They got to get their $1.8 billion to begin the Rio Grande sector. It's got 54 miles of fence. It needs 110, and they need more border guys and border women.
Well, it was great that you went down there to show us firsthand what it's like.
Yeah, we'll show it again a little bit later, but they actually want Americans to speak up and sound off. It is not anti-Hispanic or anti any group. It is just about American security.
Safe. Yeah. Keeping America safe. You know what, Brian? It's the same story. That same sentiment, what you're saying, it's the same story we've been reporting in our profession for the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And nothing's being done. Something has to change.
Right. There has to be a will, because at one point we all agreed they needed more border security. Suddenly now we don't all agree on that.
That's right. All right. Well, in just a few hours, good job, by the way. In just a few hours, President Trump will unveil his new national security strategy. One of the men who helped write it, he is live with the America First message.
Plus, how far did the Obama administration go to save the Iran nuke deal? A stunning, and I mean stunning, new report is next.
Oh, it is devastating. But first, happy birthday to Christina Aguilera. She's 36. Really? I don't. Yellow isn't strong. It isn't a strong color for pants.
Okay, Brian.
I know.
I'm wearing them tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sure on Google we can find you some.
I'm
Find
sure
some
there's
yellow.
some right
They're
now.
velvet pants too.
Change colors when you brush them, right?
That's right.
Up and down.
Direction of the felt. One of the things that I always did from the time the children were small was I stood at the bottom of the stairs with my video camera, and we've played this before. You can actually see that's Peter Ducey. All the
Look at
she's
that. I had that
now a lawyer.
nightgown.
These are the Ducey kids
That
running
is so
down
cute.
to Santa. There's Sally. She graduated.
Look at the Barbie
She's an
dream car.
Oh, and she has a flu in
How
it.
I want to be a relative at your place.
Me too. I
Just look
wanted
how
that
fast
car.
They go down those stairs. Look at these
Look
kids.
at that.
I would too if I got a Barbie car.
I know.
Look at them. Oh, that is
Do you do that every year?
We did. 1 year, a couple of years ago, we went down to Washington to visit Peter, and we were staying at a hotel. So we actually had him run down an escalator.
Oh, can you
I've got that video.
recreate that moment this year for us?
Yes.
With your kids?
In New Jersey.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
With a Barbie car, too.
We have stairs right there if the four of us want to recreate it.
That's right.
That was the best time. Do you remember? And you're trying, no one wakes up at the right time, the same time. We were all like pulling my
they
sister
had
out
to
of
wait
bed.
at the top of the stairs.
We did too.
They
And we
wake
were like,
everybody
Mom,
up.
come on. Hold on, I just need to brush my teeth. Dad, come on. Hold on, I need to set up
And then
the
they'd go
video
downstairs,
camera.
and then they'd go,
You'd
"Yep,
wait
he was
forever.
here.
Yes.
He was here.
Come on. Elise, get out of bed.
It is the most exciting time of the year.
The best week on the calendar.
really is.
We would love to see some of your pictures. Email them to us, friends at Fox
You know what's the
News.com.
best part now about being an adult and having children? It's that we get to watch our parents see the joy and love that their
True.
grandkids bring them. There's nothing better than that.
Right. I like to see what I get. I just want to make sure I get good presents.
You still run down the
yeah,
stairs.
I do. Yeah. And then just make sure there's receipts.
You push
in
your
the bag.
kids out of the way.
Exactly.
Oh, Brian, I
right,
can't
those are
wait to
fun.
see more pictures of
Me
you this
too.
week.
Right. We're going to be in search.
That's great. You have the video. We got to pull out the Betamax.
That's right.
Got to find something.
Betamax.
All right. Yeah. We had the beta before we had the VHS.
Yeah.
Send us your pictures in. It's friends@foxnews.com. In the meantime, we're going to give you some more headlines. A brand new bombshell report reveals just how far the Obama administration was willing to go to keep the Iran nuclear deal from imploding. According to Politico, the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah was given a free pass on drug trafficking operations, even in the United States. Officials secretly throwing roadblocks at the DEA, derailing its efforts to track the group. Former Obama officials insist that it was all an effort to help stall Iran's nuclear program.
Yeah, right.
Republican Congressman Darrell Issa is now firing back at Jane Fonda after she donated $100,000 to help unseat him.
I have so little respect for her after she betrayed our country in Hanoi all those years ago and literally caused prisoners of war to be further punished. So if that's the best they can do is come out with somebody who should have been jailed instead of notarized, as celebritized, I'm okay.
Fonda earned the nickname Hanoi Jane after she visited North Vietnam during the war to protest. Other celebrities shelling out to turn ICE's California seat blue, including Bill Maher and Leonardo DiCaprio. A 4-year-old girl hailed a hero this morning. Isabella Nugent waking up to find her family's New York City apartment in flames. The child yelling fire to alert her sister and other relatives, getting them out of the building in time. The family losing everything in their charred home except the clothes on their back. There is a GoFundMe page set up already. Nearly $1,000 of its $15,000 goal has already been reached. So if you want to give to them, please do so. They need it. It is the perfect dance that is now going viral. 2 little girls making the most of their airport wait in Dallas, starting a dance-off with the grounds crew member through a terminal window.
Look at that.
That is so cute. The guys on the ground are doing, that's so cute. The girls and crew member, of course, doing the airplane during their impromptu routine. You do the fish. You and Kathy do the fish. Now you need to add the airplane.
We could do that. Well, they probably were doing a lot of that in Atlanta yesterday. No electricity, nobody going anywhere.
He does this with the fishing rod, and then Kathy, he wheels around.
Giving away our
on the
secrets on the dance floor.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Okay, meanwhile, 19 minutes before the top of the hour, in just a few hours, President Trump will unveil his new national security strategy. One of the men who helped write it is live here next with an America First message.
Plus, a World War II vet brought to tears by the kindness of a stranger that's going to make your day, and his mission to pay it forward. Coming up.
I wanted to know that This is the best Christmas present I ever had.